Dear colleagues in Japan, I'm Clemens Witwer, a project manager working in the Joint Research Center of the European Commission. I work and live in Italy, and I welcome you with our local greeting, ciao. Ciao is not only the typical Italian greeting, but it's also the acronym for our project. CIAO, which is spelled C-I-A-O, stands for Modeling the Pathogenesis of COVID-19 using the Adverse Outcome Pathway Framework. I would like to thank Shiori Tanabe for her invitation to speak at your event, and I would like to thank you for your interest in our project. I will now explain what we have in mind. An Adverse Outcome Pathway, or AOP, is a collection of knowledge that makes it possible to understand how a disease develops from an early molecular initiating event over a series of key events in the organism, finally leading to an adverse outcome. Adverse outcomes can be nasty things like cancer, reproductive problems, death even, or respiratory failure, and many, many more. When you assemble an AOP, you put together all the knowledge people need to understand how what we call stressor triggers the molecular initiating event, and how this molecular initiating event itself triggers the next key event and the next and the next and so on, until the nasty thing occurs, the adverse outcome. What you then get is a whole, let's call it story, that tells you what exactly happens when a disease progresses through the human body. Making an AOP does not necessarily mean producing new knowledge, but what it means is making sense of existing knowledge. The trick is that you find the correct knowledge, the relevant knowledge, and that you leave out the misleading information, the wrong information. And that is exactly the problem with the COVID-19 disease. There are more than 100,000 COVID publications out there, many of them published hastily, maybe even prematurely, and finding the quality information and using only the good stuff is the tricky part. That is the reason why we here at the European Commission have started the CIAO project. And now you know what CIAO stands for, Modeling the Pathogenesis of COVID-19 using the Adverse Outcome Pathway Framework. We want to help people to understand the course of the COVID-19 disease without having to go through 100,000 publications. We want to create a point of reference for anyone who wants to quickly understand what happens when the coronavirus infects a human being. We want to make sure that scientists do not get overwhelmed by the information tsunami. We want to channel that tsunami and turn it into a stream of evidence. Creating an AOP can be challenging. We have therefore partnered up with 3 other organizations which will help us with organizing the work we foresee. These 3 organizations are the Physicians' Committee for Responsible Medicine, the Humane Society International, and the Karolinska Institute in Sweden. But even that would not be enough. What we need is a whole crowd of willing and able people who do the heavy lifting, reading the material that's out there, judging its quality, weighing its importance, and finally adding it to the growing AOP. What we will therefore do over the coming months, together with our 3 partners, is form this crowd of willing and able people, and together with them start our exciting journey into the uncharted sea of COVID knowledge. We hope we will be the pioneers who at the end of their voyage arrive with a shipload of treasures, high quality knowledge about the COVID-19 disease. This knowledge will then hopefully help to understand the big mysteries still around COVID-19, like, for example, why are some people more affected by the disease than others? Why do some people show no symptoms at all, while others end up in intensive care or even die? How do age, sex, diet, or social standing influence the course of the disease? What makes some individuals more infectious than others? What impact does the virus entry point have, like, for example, respiratory system versus the eyes? In general, Are there any influencing factors that have been overlooked so far? In a few days, we will have our first COVID-19 AOP design workshop. People from all over the world will come together, not physically obviously, but in a teleconference, and we will develop the first draft skeleton of the COVID-19 AOP. We will identify molecular initiating events, key events, and adverse outcomes. We will connect these events and we will see our AOP emerge. In the months after, we will put the scientific meat on that AOP skeleton. We will distribute responsibilities for individual key events among our crowd, and we will see our AOP grow over time. We are optimistic that by mid-2021, so next year, we will be able to make the AOP available to a wider public, and we will then spend more time to fine-tune, to complete, to polish the AOP. If you are interested in helping us, feel free to contact us, and you will find more information on the websites we will recommend at the end of my talk. And I'm sure Shiori will also be available if you have questions. Arigato and sayonara.